It's the Evening Show Live.
Tonight's special guest, comedian and ventriloquist Taylor Mason and his friend Paco.
And now, our host, Michael Gorey.
Well, joining me tonight is a comedian, entertainer, musician, ventriloquist, and actor. Taylor, that is an impressive resume. Is there anything you can't do?
Well, all it means is that I can't hold a steady job. You know, that just that's what all that means. I can't hold a steady job, and so yeah. And I've added magician to my thing. So this is what I always say now. I'm not the greatest ventriloquist in the world. I'm not the greatest stand-up comic in the world. I'm not the greatest musician in the world. I'm not the greatest magician in the world. But I am the greatest ventriloquist, stand-up comic, magician, musician in the world. So there's nobody else.
Nobody else.
That's
no.
right. I'm the one.
Well, I first became introduced to you whenever you were touring on the Gaither Homecoming tour. How did that all come about? How were you? How did you become acquainted with the Gaithers?
Well, it's a divine intervention, and for people of faith, there are no coincidences and there are no ironies in life except in theater, as we all know. And it was just prescient and precipitous that here's the whole story. A very funny, wonderful man named Ken Davis, who is very well known actually in the Christian entertainment and ministry world. He's a wonderful minister, and you know, just his faith in Christ is it's not just undoubted. He lives it, he preaches it, he exudes it, and he had contacted me along with a gentleman who was working with him in production named Danny DiArmas, who was working as his advisor, kind of a personal manager, whatever you want to call it, producer of Ken Davis's work. Because like myself, although only much more ministerial, what Ken does is, again, a writer, performer, actor, preacher. You know, Ken is multifaceted, multi-talented, and saw a video of me in a comedy club working a midnight show in one of your comedy clubs where most of the midnight shows are pretty much based on the bathroom or the bedroom. That's the content that you're watching. But of course, mine is what's the difference between Frankenberry and Count Chocula? And I'm still doing it for that same crowd, but very my base of reference is not narrow. It's very broad because as a follower of Christ, we are inclusive, even at the midnight show at some comedy club somewhere. So Davis and DiArmas see the video and for maybe 18 months begged me to come and do a program called Homecoming out in Indianapolis with somebody named Bill Gaither. And of course, I'd been working in the secular world for an entire career, had no idea who he was. But finally, after all the constant, please come, you got to come, why are you not coming? I finally say, okay, I'll do it. And then they drop this on me. Oh, by the way, for your ventriloquist act, what you need is a puppet that looks like Bill Gaither. Oh, well, you didn't tell me that, you guys. So what I do is I talk to the woman that I've worked with for many years who does just an incredible puppet builder. She's just amazing. She builds the Peanut character for Jeff Dunham, for example.
Wow.
She's amazingly talented. She and her daughter now, Marianne Taylor Puppets is the name of her company. Marianne is, and we talked for a while and she knew who Bill Gaither was. She said, oh, you don't know him? I said, no. She said, oh, I can't believe it. She says, I would love to make a lookalike. So she builds this 6 foot tall, taller than he is, 6 foot tall puppet with the wavy, long Christian entertainer hair of the 90s and early 2000s. So I fly out to Indianapolis and I've got this giant Bill Gaither puppet and we bring a young woman up out of the audience. She sits on a chair. We put the Gaither puppet on her lap. She's now operating Bill's mouth. And I, as a ventriloquist, am trying to improvise, which for anyone who knows Bill Gaither, he does a lot of stuttering. So it worked perfectly because she could never get I could never get the words in there correctly. She could never get the mouth to sync. And I couldn't understand what was going on. The audience, like 20,000, I'm seriously, we're in a basketball arena. 20,000 people are cheering and laughing hysterically. And I'm thinking, this is not working at all. he's stuttering the entire time, but people are just, and maybe 2 weeks later, I'm headed out on a family vacation. Our kids were small. So this was 15, 20 years ago. My kids are both adults living in New York City now, but we were headed out. They were probably 8 and 6 at the time, something like that, maybe a little younger. We're headed up to Vermont on family vacation. And we got a phone call. This is at the beginning of the cell phone days, the big old cell phone. And it's Bill Gaither. And again, no ironies, no coincidences. Mark Lowry, another incredibly talented, multifaceted, these people, Ken Davis, Mark Lowry, Bill Gaither, make me look and feel like I'm humbled, by being around them. They glow with the spirit, if you know what I mean. So Mark has left the Gaither Vocal Band. He just dropped this on him. So Bill calls me and says, would you come and join us on tour? Because Mark Lowry, and of course I didn't have any idea who Mark was at the time. But I'm clueless. That's on me. So we're driving up and I tell him, well, I've got a lot of gigs. I'll have to cancel. And Bill says, well, let me know what you can do. And I decide with my wife, as we're driving up to Vermont, we're going to go on tour with Bill. And maybe 6 weeks later, 9/11 happens. And my work would have been canceled anyway, but the homecoming tour was on tour. So I'm on, now I'm in a bus instead of on a plane, and we're doing city to city, and I'm on tour with the Gaither Vocal Band. I did 3 videos with them all over the world, Carnegie Hall. We were in Sydney, Australia. So it was a wonderful thing. I was on tour with them for 3 years. Best boss I've ever had. Much better than, I've worked with TV networks and whatever, but Bill was just gracious, and all the artists on there are just amazing. And I toured with Bill, and that's the whole story.
Yeah. Well, and Bill has been on the program, as well as Mark Lowry. He's gone twice. And I can echo what you just said about them. They just glow the gospel, and that's their life. Yeah. And but you were on tour with them, and was that a launching pad for you career-wise going into churches?
It definitely was. Up until then, what I had done for I would do. There would be, say, the minister would want to do a group gathering on stewardship at the Presbyterian Church, say in Montclair, New Jersey. So I would prepare, a 45-minute program with bits and pieces of my act, and then tailor it. Yeah. Sorry to pun you to death, but tailor it to stewardship for the church. Or they would have a fundraiser for the trip to, a church, a Methodist church where we live in California, and the church we're going to, or thinking about going to, the Methodist church, to find out I'm a comedian. Oh, we are raising funds for our ministry over in South Africa. Would you do a fundraiser? Oh yeah, of course I would. And that was the extent of my church work until I started touring with Bill. And then after that, I don't know how many churches I played since 2001. In the last 19 years, I would say I've done 1,200, 1,500 church programs. Wow. I still do. I just did one, a socially distanced church program for youth over near Philadelphia at New Life Church up in Dresher, Pennsylvania. I just did that within the last week. So I still do quite a few. It's a joy to do it. It's right up my alley as a believer. So anytime you get to, I'm not a preacher by any. That's not my thing. I'm not an evangelist. I am just someone who Christ is my savior, and I try and represent that wherever I go, and that includes churches.
Yeah, and to that point, it leads right into what I was gonna ask you. You are quick to say, and I love this, that you're not a Christian comedian. You're a comedian who's a Christian. Explain the distinction.
Okay, the reason now a lot of Christian entertainers don't like this little routine. I'm a comedian who is Christian. I'm not a Christian comedian. What's the difference? One is I'm not selling anything, after the program. I'm not begrudging anybody else anything else. I'm just saying there's a story in the Bible where Jesus goes into the temple and they're selling all these wares basically in his name, and he flips out. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I can every time I read the passage, I just picture him taking his arm and just shoving everything off the table. Somebody he had to make a point. Okay, so, and of course now that goes against a lot of not just Christian entertainment, but people who are involved in ministry. And I don't look, I'm not holier than thou, and I don't think, they're selling them. I don't approach it that way at all. All I'm saying is, and sometimes after my show, I do sell. Now, rarely, it's not every program. For example, at New Life Church, I didn't, now there was another act with me, and they were selling things after their program. And a lot of times I'll work with bands and they sell things. And comedians have said, I can't believe you're saying that. I'm selling stuff after the program. And that's fine. I'm not judging anybody else. I'm just saying, for me, that particular passage in the Bible rings true. And beyond that, a lot of times I get the feeling that people kind of lay on their faith as entertainer, where I'm trying to go at it the other way. And I'm not judging anybody. And there are just an incredible amount of Christian writers, musicians, artists, comedians, entrepreneurs, whatever you want to name, who make a living by including everyone. And a lot of the way they do it is they have product that is directly related to whatever it is they're doing as an artist. And I admire that. And so I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea, but it is funny and it's a great line. And a lot of times I'll do that in a church, and people will laugh really hard. And sometimes I'll do it and I'll hear this. Ooh. I've touched the nerve with this group.
Well, but it also doesn't it allows you not to be boxed in to a certain genre. You're able to go and take a message of hope and laughter to places like the Improv and to all these other comedy clubs across the country.
Yeah, Michael, okay, so first, if you're going to I always say this, if you're going to call yourself a Christian comedian or a comedian who's Christian or relate to your faith at all, then you better live it. And the best example I can give you of that is I play synagogues, comedy clubs, casinos, cruise ships, theaters, video vlogs, blogs, podcasts. Sure. I look at everything as an opportunity. Everything is an opportunity. I don't look down my nose at anyone or anything. And since everything is an opportunity, to just another chance, maybe to touch somebody's life and include them. And as you just alluded to, we're about faith, hope, and love in a world that is really hurting. And I would go as far as to say a country that is hurting. So to get back to your point, it doesn't matter where I am, I hear this a lot. I'll be on a Disney cruise ship in front of a very secular audience that includes everything. There are people, Muslim, they're Hindu, Christian, Jew, and people come up to me after the show and they'll say, "You're a good Jewish boy, aren't you?" Or, "I'll bet you're Catholic. I'll bet I know you're a Christian." They'll come up to me after a program because those themes, faith, hope, and love, are the basis of a lot of faiths. And that comes through. And this always gives me an opportunity to tell people kind of what I'm about. So I'm glad you asked that question, because I think that's a really apt question for somebody like myself in this world, especially with everything that's going around, political, socio-political, and pandemic wise. For us, faith, hope, and love it's what we're all about. Yes.
Well said. Hey, do you have some of your friends around maybe that would like to say hello to the viewers of the evening show?
Sure. Come here, senor. This is my buddy Paco. Hola, hola. Just say hello. Hola. No. Senor, what? Where's your mask? We don't need a mask because you've already been tested and you've been tested negative, and I'm not worried. No, swine flu. No, swine flu is not going to happen today. Say hello, hola. No, let's just do our thing. All right? Okay, senor. Where's your mask? I'm not. All right, fine. I'm going to put this on. Good, because I don't want anyone who's watching to get the wrong idea and to feel like I don't wear a mask. Always wearing a mask. Okay. Good. Okay. Thank you. All right. You should always wear a mask. Yes, there's a pandemic, and we should. No. You should always wear a mask, even if there's no pandemic. You should always. We would all be in the chat there. Actually, that's just mean. Actually, Mike, this thing right here, is the boon for my industry. Because now I can make this pig say, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, and Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. And no one can see whether my lips moved or not. Do it again. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Good. Okay. So, wait, it's not a mask. Yes, it is a mask. Michael, you can see that, right? It's a mask.
It's a mask. Paco,
no, it's not, Michael. Turn me upside down. All right. Put me on the mask. Oh, my gosh. I didn't even think about this, but you know what this is? It's a pig hammock. So it's not just a mask. It is a pig. It's a pig hammock. And this, whoa, okay. It's like being on a spit. Oh, sorry. Okay, so yes, there's there's a little bit of ventriloquism for you.
How do you come up with those personalities? You've got how many? You've got 23 puppets. How many do you have?
For the show, I had a children's TV show about a decade ago 12 years ago, called Taylor's Attic. And on that show, I think there were 14 or 15. I don't really call them puppets.
Yeah.
Just to be politically correct, mannequin American is the PC term. That's the term that the millennials would use to describe, my friends.
Yeah.
Or here's another thing I always say as a ventriloquist. Adults sometimes come up to me after a program and they'll say, those puppets were really scary. And I always say, no, these are my imaginary friends come to life. It's what a lot of people call Facebook or Twitter or Snapchat or TikTok. The difference is my imaginary friends are real. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second, I come up with these. Well, I'll just go back and start from the beginning, because here, come here. My entire career, Michael, is based on this, and I'm not. This is not bragging. I'm just going back in time.
Yes.
This is the reality. My mother had all these sayings growing up. Now, my mom came from a very Puritan family, East Coast Puritan, Fall River, Massachusetts, Sutcliffe, Meisenhelder were her parents' maiden names. And my mom would do the laundry, with a pair of socks, and roll them up into a ball. This is important. And she would say this every day: start every day with a smile. This was one of her many, many redundancies that I lived with as a kid. Start every day with a smile, which is not a bad way to live your life. But she would roll socks up. To her credit, she lived that. Start every day with a smile. She would roll the socks up into a ball, just like this, all right? But instead of just leaving the sock ball like this, my mother, to her credit, lived start every day with a smile, because she would form the top of the sock ball every day into a smile, just like that. So when I would open my sock drawer in the morning, there were 15 of these guys looking up at me. It doesn't take a genius. Start every day with a smile, right? Yeah. Second, on television when I'm growing up is this woman named Sherry Lewis.
Yeah.
All right. Very devout Jew and lovely lady who I met years and years later in Branson, Missouri, doing a gig. And she had a sock on her hand that was a farm animal. And my dad was a farm news radio broadcaster, and my family farmed. So it didn't take a genius to figure out what my mom is telling me. The sock is smiling. You want to start every day with a smile anyway. The sock goes on your hand. Stuff the front of it down inside. Hello, not yet. And the sock, hello, not yet. The sock, I looked into the mirror just like this, and the sock, Taylor, I know, hello, great. And of course, what you can do is you can, with these, okay, what's this? His name is Michael Gehring. Oh, okay. He's nice. He's a preacher. Okay. He's a very Christian, devout man. Oh, he's got flesh-colored hair. Yes, he does. So, and this is pretty much, Michael, how I started. I would stand in front of the mirror with my, give yourself a name, sock. No, think of a name that's creative and clever. Stinky sock, whatever. Sweat sock. No, dirty sock. Stop it. And then I would throw words into the ventriloquism, throwing your voice, which is really just making it look like something that's not real. What do you mean? Your imaginary come to life. Oh, okay. So what I'm doing is I'm taking something that is not real, no, and literally bringing it to life. Whoa! As a person of faith, it's similar to meeting somebody who maybe doesn't know the Lord and is not familiar with the word, and just talking about it. Not so much preaching, just talking about it. Got it. All right. So there's a lot, and in these days that we're living in, it's good because I'm working together, and which is what we're probably all going to have to do here. We're inclusive. To get back to that word as a person of faith, we are inclusive. Yes, we are. Yes. So I literally work with the sock. Thank you. You're welcome. And it works with me. And then we can do this. Oh, and I throw my voice into, say, bubba, da. No, say buh, duh. See, it's hard to say B without moving your lips. Say B, D. Do you want to go back on my foot? Bumblebee. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is not something anyone can't do. With a lot of practice, say 6 months on every of the hard syllables, B, F, M, V, P, W, and Y. I know somebody at your house is working on this right now. You take a few months on each one of those syllables and practice saying them without moving your lips. I wrote a book about it called The Complete Idiot's Guide to Ventriloquism, which is available online as an ebook only now. Avon Publishing, division of Penguin. 5-star reviews, any age. If you're a parent or a guardian and you have a young person who's interested in doing this, because ventriloquism has become so popular now with Darcy Lynn Farmer and Terry Fader and Jeff Dunham and all these ventriloquists, my book will teach you how to create a character, which is what we were talking about, how many characters. That's how I do it. I just showed you exactly what I do. And my book teaches that, how to make all the sounds without moving your lips, how to lip sync with your imaginary friend, and write jokes, dialogue, so that you can actually go on a program like this and be entertaining or informative or funny.
Yeah, I love it. So the book is called The Complete Idiot's Guide to Ventriloquism, online. You also have another book, Irreversible. Talk about that for a moment.
Okay, Irreversible is what I wanted to do. I've been on tour basically since 1985. So I've been touring the planet since 1985. And when my wife and I had children, I'm married to my first wife. And when we had kids, my career changed quite a bit. We lived in Los Angeles for a while. We're in New York City. Then we were in New Jersey. Then we moved to LA. Then we moved back to New Jersey. And while my kids were growing up, we made our home base New Jersey so that our children had a home base. And my life would be something like this. My kids would get up in the morning and I would be there walking our dogs. Come home, they would go to school. They would come back from school and I'd be there, but then I'd leave. And then I'd be gone. But when they wake up in the morning, I'd be there walking the dogs, or I'd be there having breakfast with them. And I wanted them to know where I was for those hours that I was gone. So I wrote a book, loosely based on my life since 1985. Now, the book came out actually a year ago, a little over a year and a half ago. So it's missed with the pandemic is not in the book, obviously. But up until this point, this is a book about my life. And I then got a publisher and released it. It's gotten tons of great reviews. It's for $3. You can get it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Google Play. It has a lot of 5- and 4-star reviews. I'm very proud of it. It's a fast read. It's called Irreversible by Taylor Mason. And it's just about a ventriloquist life on the road. Let me think of a good story.
Yeah.
I used to have this giant sumo wrestler puppet, similar to the Gaither puppet, that would sit on an audience member's lap on stage, and they would try to lip sync the words, and the sumo wrestler would try to say the words. And of course, it was a great routine. And when 9/11 happened, this is a story that I tell in the book. I was playing a college on the 12th up in suburban Boston. And I'm living in New Jersey. And I called the college booking agent. And he says, well, they want to do the show. And I said, oh, I just can't imagine. No, they really want you to drive up. So it's a 6-hour drive. So I throw Sumo in the back of the family minivan, drive up to Boston, do the show at Worcester College. It's not a fun night. It's the day after 9/11. It's brutal. Okay.
Wow.
So, but the advisor, I even right 10 minutes before the show, I said, listen, I don't mind. Don't have to pay me. I'll drive home. She said, no, we all need to laugh. Well, okay. I agree with that, but this might not be the idea. So I do the program. When the kids were gracious, they tried to, but there's this cloud.
Sure.
So I'm driving back now, okay, late at night on the 12th, going into the 13th of September, 2001. And there's nobody on the road. It's me and a couple of police cars every once in a while. I get to the New Jersey, the bridge, the George Washington Bridge on the New York side where you cross over to go to New Jersey. There's a toll booth. So I slowly come pulling up to the booth. And before I get to the booth, 2 police officers dressed in SWAT gear appear in the darkness in front, right in my headlights, come out of the darkness and appear. So I stop, and they come over, where are you going? And I said, well, to be honest, I wanted you to drive into New York City and see if I can help. No, you're not doing that. It's New York. You're not doing that. No.
Yeah.
Give me and I said, they wanted my license and everything. I gave them everything, told them what I had done, drove to Boston, did a show. They've opened the back of the minivan, and there is Sumo face down. So it looks like a big body is face down, splayed out. And then the guy, I'll never forget this, says, sir, we got a problem. And he pulls out the sumo wrestler and is holding it up because it's a foam puppet. So even though it's humongous, it's bigger than life. He's holding this saying, look at this. So now there's other police coming down from the bushes on both sides. And there's probably 6 or 8 of them now. And now I'm explaining, well, this is part of my act. This is what I do. And they had me perform it. They had me do a little show to show them what I was doing. And they actually they laughed. It was better than the show I had done 6 hours earlier up in Boston. And now it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. But, I mean, you can see the fires going on in New York City. They just wanted 1 minute to forget. And then they threw someone back in, closed the door and said, get out of here. And I went across the bridge and drove home. And that story's in the book.
Wow. That's incredible. And it goes to show, Taylor, that in some of our darkest moments, if we can just pause and laugh,
it's really hard. It just goes, you're right. It just goes back. These are all things. Start every day with a smile. If the day is overwhelming, if things are just looking like there's no way, a great way to start your day, even if it's work related, you need something accomplished, whatever it is, whatever your goal is, whatever your prayer you need answered. I'm just telling you this from personal experience, how I've managed to exist as let's face it, ventriloquism is not at the top of everybody's, I got to see this. How have I managed? A lot of it is your mental attitude, the mentality that you bring. And Michael, it is just as powerful and needed today as it ever is, ever. So you go back to the Bible up until now. And so I believe that what we started talking about, start every day with a smile, I think is a great way to at least start your day. Find a way to enjoy whatever it is and throw yourself into whatever it is. And then, of course, being inclusive and working with people as opposed to trying to find ways to get around. Those things are all important as well. And then, as we talked about, faith, hope, and love in this world right now, if you take those things and put them all together, I think that is a great way to get through what we're all going through right now.
Well said. And Taylor, I was just thinking about a way that people could start the day with a smile, end the day with a smile. You have a dry bar comedy special that people can watch. Where can they watch it?
Well, you would download the Dry Bar app. So
Okay.
Android, iOS, whatever your service, whatever devices you have, tablet, a phone, whatever. You want to
And
download.
I've got it right there. The dry bar app.
There it is. That's it. Yes.
And Taylor Mason.
Oh, Hysterical Perspective. There it is. That's the name of my Dry Bar special, is Hysterical Perspective. And yeah, I had a lot of fun doing it. Dry Bar is a great organization. You had Jeff Allen on your program before.
Yes.
Jeff's one of the most popular people that have done the show. I've met lots of people. Even during the pandemic, I've had people email me, but they've downloaded it and watched it. So yeah, if you have time, watch my Dry Bar special, or don't watch it and just give me a 5-star review. Just fast forward through the whole thing and just give me a 5-star review at the end. I'm fine with that too.
Well, hey, Taylor, this has been a real treat for us tonight, having you on the program. TaylorMason.com is the website. People can
I'm all over social media. You can find me everywhere: Twitter, TikTok. You can find me everywhere on Facebook. I'm all over that. And listen, I want to tell your son Graham good luck. I know Graham is a beginner ventriloquist, and he's already starting to get to the point where I can tell I'll be opening for him down the road somewhere. So that's incredible. So I'm glad that kind of brought us together.
Well, I'll tell you, Taylor, he finally thinks that I'm cool because you're his hero, and that we had you on today, it meant a lot. And Taylor, I'm going to say this too. We're going to get together after this show, and we're going to work out a day to have you come to Northwest Arkansas. We would love to have you here in Bentonville, and we'll make that happen.
Michael, that would be my honor. That would be wonderful.
All right, folks, stay with us. Join us next Wednesday night for another exciting episode of Evening Show Live. To watch a past episode, go to eveningshowlive.com. And again, my guest today, Taylor Mason. Thank you so much. God bless you. And
bless you, brother.
Special thanks to Taylor Mason. Evening Show Live is a media ministry of Bethel Baptist Church in Bentonville, Arkansas. To learn more about Bethel, visit our website, bethelbentonville.com. To watch past episodes of Evening Show Live, visit eveningshowlive.com.